Welcome everyone to today's webinar on career agility and the virtual job search, really key topic in today's times. My name is Michelle Rapp. I'm the Associate Director of Alumni Career Strategy in the Alumni Relations Office, and appreciate your joining us. I want to tell you a little bit about Marty. She is a workplace futurist and the best-selling author of Activate Your Agile Career. She has an MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and is a former technology executive who has worked in Silicon Valley. As a top career influencer, she has been featured in media outlets such as NBC Chicago, Forbes, and The Muse, and has worked in companies such as Samsung, Dow Jones, and Apple. In addition, Marty is an expert in applying agile principles to workforce development. So we're really excited to have her here for an interactive session on this topic. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. And if I can coach people or ask you, if you can go up to your view options and view the speaker view, it might be a little bit easier once I connect us to a third-party app from here. So we'll be going a little bit on a journey. Have you ever gotten into an interview and the person asks you what feels like a trick question? So you've answered all the questions correctly, and you have studied and you have worked and you have maintained your career very well, and you know your industry. And yet the person in front of you, or even in networking, stumps you with a question. I definitely have. And you can feel free to raise your hands or, put a Y in the chat. Yes, you have been stopped in your tracks with a question. And it happened to me once. And it's something that I have never forgotten. It actually happened in Boston, in a software company. I had been working for Dow Jones News and Information Services, and I was interviewing for a new role with the CEO. And he asked me the market size of the entire industry. And I didn't have it. And I remember to this day stumbling, and it was an awkward pause, and I didn't have the answer. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just fumbled through it, much like a football player does with fumbling the ball. It just dribbled to the ground. I realized at that time that this was never going to happen to me again, and that words are really important in your job advancement, your job security, as well as job search. And I have answered that question a million times since then. And how I would answer it today is, I don't have the exact number of the market sizing right now, but I know that we're in 20 markets, and I know the size is this. And people in my organization come to me because I know how to figure things out. I'm the figure-outable person on staff. And so this is how I would calculate that. And it's being able to take back your confidence when something is being eroded during this. I wanted to start out with that story because this happens to us in networking, and we think that we have to know all the answers. And there are so many ways that you can answer questions that will continue sustaining your confidence rather than eroding it. I'm going to share my screen presentation. And today I have an agenda for today. You're going to have the right words, and you're going to know how to enter into your relationships virtually and be able to talk to people in the virtual world as well as in the personal world. So here is the sharing of the screen. I'm using a third-party app called It's called MMHMM. If any of you want to check it out, I think it's out of beta now. It works super well. And it just enables us to have another view of things. So these are the instructions for today. Come as you are. I notice a lot of you are listening in. If you want to make your picture visible, happy to see you. It's okay though, if you want to keep it just this way. If you want to talk with me, I have a question that I'm asking you. You can activate your video or your mic at that time during a QA. And there's also an opportunity for people listening today to have a real life back and forth LinkedIn profile review. There's another piece of interaction today, and it's an annotation exercise. If you're on your mobile device like this, you may not be able to participate, but you can view everything that's going on. If you're on a desktop device, you will be able to participate. We will also be using comments and questions in the chat. Again, very interactive so that you're not going to fall asleep here. If you can humor me and put this in the chat, what is your favorite indulgence? Mine is Ghirardelli 86% dark chocolate. See how I was so specific? Specifics stick in the workplace when people remember you for something. So if you can humor me and put in your favorite indulgence, some people put Netflix in there, things like that. So please participate there. And I'm going to move on to the next one, and I may go back and see what kinds of things that you offered here. So we have anise, sesame, cookies, and coffee. That sounds wonderful. JP Licks, oh, Hallmark movies. Oh, that I like that too. Extra sharp cheddar cheese. JP Licks, very specific. Peanut butter sundae. A black raspberry flavored ice cream. This is great. Getting specific with how you talk is going to be how people remember you. Ghirardelli triple chocolate brownies. I like those on top of ice cream. More dark chocolate. So if I had a poll, I don't think anyone has ever answered milk chocolate. So I think dark chocolate is the chocolate of the day. Chocolate peanut butter cup ice cream. An old-fashioned donut from Tony's Donut Shop in Portland, Maine. These all sound wonderful. Mac and cheese, all types. Sign me up for that one. Playing golf weekly. Thank you so much for participating. This has like gotten me hungry and excited about living life. So what we're talking about today is career agility. I authored a book called Activate Your Agile Career, and I studied agility for the past 10 years. We're going to be talking specifically about how it meets the virtual job search and how you can use it to advance your career as well as interview well. The agenda today is career agility, career development, transformation, messaging. We're going to throw in a little bit of career branding in there, and virtual presence and job search tips. Right now, this is a way to enter into the idea of an agility mindset. We are all learning by doing, especially since the pandemic hit us. There are things that we didn't know. We didn't even know how to get involved in Zoom platforms in the proper way a year and a half ago, but we are learning by doing, and we're doing a great job. I call this the high density learning curve. It's a great agility move. The other thing that we're all doing is experiment, measuring, and learning. What we don't know, we're testing out. Video interviews, anybody against a green screen, where you're not talking to anybody. We never used to do that as much before. That was happening before the pandemic, but this is new. So we're practicing how to light our background so that we're not speaking in a tunnel. We're experimenting all of this, and we're experimenting like crazy in the workplace with new ways of doing things. A couple agility moves. Another agility move is responding to change. This is one of the core practices of the agility model. You might recognize this as Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's change curve. It was originally a grieving curve. So how people get over grief. The IT management industry took it over in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and said, no, this is a change curve. People deny, they don't want to integrate, they don't want to change. They get into what I call the trough of disillusionment, thanks to the Gartner hype cycle for that terminology. But I call it also the depression, the valley of despair, like just frustration, bargaining. I don't want to do this. Do I really have to do this? And at some point, you experiment. There is a new way, and you integrate it into your life. This is happening all the time. We have a lot of unintended consequences of what has happened with the pandemic. Just talking to a friend of mine yesterday, there's a shortage of veterinarians in the state of Illinois because too many people got puppies and kittens, and there are not enough veterinarians. So they're going up to Wisconsin to get their dogs that are sick to make them well again. Unintended consequences. We are in an area where the state of work is changing dramatically. This is a traditional state of work where you're starting your job, you're really excited, you're animated, your boss loves what you're doing because you bring so much energy to the table. At some point, you master this role. And what happens when you master a role? You become a little bit less engaged and your interest declines. This is why the workplace sometimes is known as having an 85% disengagement problem. It's because either the employers haven't figured out how to sustain your interest, or you haven't figured out how to do that. Enter in the project economy. This is something that anybody can do, whether you're switching roles or companies. So you could be at the same company for 10 years and have 3 discrete roles within the company, or you could be the kind of person that is signing up for projects that keep you top of mind for what it is that you do best. So isn't this a great way to sustain your career, that as soon as your interest starts to wane, you can hop on to the next project? I encourage everybody to view what it is that they're doing every day as a series of projects, and you will be more interested in what you're doing, especially if you are signing on for some of those new projects. There might be a cool project with AI integration with one of the roles that you're working on. You might want to sign up for that because that's the future. So poll question number 1. We're not going to do a conventional poll where you just click the button and then it spits out percentages. We're going to use our annotate tools today. And so those of you who can, I encourage you, those of you who can't access your annotate information, you can just look at the results. So the question here is, what type of change impacts you the most today? Personal, technology, industry, workplace, loss of job. If you cannot work with an annotate tool, you can actually put it in the chat. I just saw Belgium salted caramel chocolate. Love that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next screen here. So here's how you work on annotate. You go up to your view options. You click on that and you're going to see a horizontal thing that has mute, stop video, security or participants, chat, share, pause. And I'd like for anybody who can to click on the annotate button. And when you click on the annotate button, again, you have to click on view options to get your annotate button. And so we'll work with anyone who is able to do that. Then I would like you to navigate over to the word stamp. So there's mouse, select, text, draw, and stamp. I guess you could even draw too if you wanted to, but let's click on stamp and you're going to get 6 options: a right-handed arrow, a check mark, an X, a star, a heart, a question mark. We're going to go to the next page and I'd like you to click on the stamp and I'm going to place the first one. I'm going to place, you can click on the area. I'm going to click personal. So if anyone can participate, I know we did a test on this initially, so anybody that can do this. So we've got some technology, we've got some personal. There's a lot of stuff going on with childcare and elder care. So personal is a big one. Job loss, workplace issues, keeping up with the industry. So this is great. We're using different symbols and we're using an annotation tool that you may not have used in the past. So it looks like there's a lot of personal and workplace issues that impacts you the most today. We've got a couple. And then if you can, declick the stamp button so that we won't be seeing stamps throughout the rest of the presentation. So this is a new way or a different way that you can use polls. Going to clear the decks here now with all the drawings, and I'm going to go to the next screen. Agile isn't just for tech anymore. It's transforming how organizations hire, develop, and manage their people. This is why career agility is very important. Came up with this idea at 30,000 feet on a plane when I was coming back from San Francisco back to Chicago, which is where I live. And I had just spent an entire almost 3 days working with global marketers, applying agile principles agile principles, the kind that are applied in the software development process. And we set up the principles and the values for agile marketing, because I was working in marketing at the time. It was 10 years ago. I thought, why can't we apply this to the management of one's own career? And that's exactly what I did. There was no definition for career agility 10 years ago. It's a definition that I created 10 years ago, and Google ranks it as the #1 definition for career agility today. So if you type in what is career agility, you will find this. An agile career is a self-reflective, incremental career path guided by response to change, evolving job roles, and designed to optimize creativity, growth, and happiness. This is the model. And it's a model, it's like an 8 on its side. And if you start on the left-hand side, whether you're in school, mid-career, or at the beginning, you figure out what it is that you want to do. You understand your strengths, your likes, your dislikes. And at some point you have a career hypothesis. And that's actually where the orange star is at. And then you enter into the bigger side of the circle. And there's things like the project economy, viewing your career as a series of projects. There's a principle called A/B testing your career. A lot of statistics people, a lot of research people test things to see if they're relevant, if they're correlated. We can do that with our careers. We can do that while we're taking on a side project to test it out, or we can do them in sequence. We don't have to do them on the side. Another one is parallel pursuits. Another one is activating your feedback squad. So you have the right kind of feedback and mentors and coaches in your life, because a career is not stepping into it. It is a full-time discipline that changes constantly. So poll question number 2. So those of you that participated the last time, and maybe we'll get a couple extra ones, is where do you see yourself on the agility scale? How agile do you think you are? Slightly flexible, however you like predictable environments, somewhat agile, but can flex with a certain amount. Or you can work in totally fluid environments, or highly agile. So there's 4 choices. So let's do this again. Click on annotate, click on the stamp, and let's pick where you're at. Someone is highly agile. Someone's like right in between. I love this because this is very honest. Some people you can see skew a little bit more towards steadfast. Steadfast is really good for certain types of roles and certain kinds of people. We're missing some hearts in there, so I'm going to put a heart in there. So it's a difference between stagnation and growth, but we're all on a spectrum and we're all growing. It's like Carol Dweck's research on the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. It can be cultivated. So this was great participation. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to clear it and move on to the next thing. Remember to declick your stamp so we don't get stamps throughout, but it's okay. If I see them, I will erase them. Remember one thing when you are looking for work, it's not always the most qualified candidate who gets hired. It's the one who is remembered. Remember when I said I didn't know the answer to the question, but had I said to that person that I'm the go-to person in my organization for figuring things out, that would have been a much more memorable statement. And remember one thing more. There's so much intimidation now with all the information that's out there. And how can I make myself more valuable in the workplace? The experience and ideas you have in your brain cannot be found on Google. You cannot do a Google search on your brain. So you bring a uniqueness to the workplace that cannot be replicated. It's incumbent upon you to know that and own what it is. So the job search trio is transfer, transform, and tap, the 3 T's. The first one is what is transferable? And this is all relating to what is going on online, branding your skills and strengths online. What's visible? When you type in your name on Google, what do you see? Who are you? What do you do? And then answering the questions, why are you special? So you don't answer the question, why am I special? But you know your core strengths. What are your power skills? We used to call them soft skills. Thanks to a man named Josh Burson, who's very influential in the HR community, he said, why don't we call them power skills? Because that's what they are. And what traits support your current move or your current role? So these are things, what's transferable? These are your transferable skills. What do you do? And what are you doing now to get another certificate or do an online learning on LinkedIn, another type of certification, or just doing something like this, just getting more current with what's new, education. And that is where you find your opportunity. So how can you be visible in an online environment? And how can you reflect your personal brand so that people can come to you? Not even just on LinkedIn, but in the workplace. How can you make this visible? One of the options is on LinkedIn. Another one is your resume. It's your keywords. It's your foundational phrases. The foundational phrases is what I would like to challenge each and every one of you to develop some foundational phrases about yourself. Because when you end up delivering too much and saying, oh, well, I do operations and I do delivery and I do branding and I'm, a great with the numbers. People don't really know what you stand for. It's better to become known really well for one thing and then to start adding all of the other items and to develop foundational phrases, which I will introduce you to. This is a way to think about your personal brand. On the far left-hand side, we have your messaging platform, your mission, your vision, your values, your purpose, and your positioning and all those phrases. And then the content creation and how you describe yourself and how you talk to other people and use online platforms. And then what are your communication tactics? This is an era of personal marketing. And the marketing isn't just for getting a job. The marketing is for owning your job and sustaining your relevance in your current role. Two things to remember here. I talk a lot about memorable phrases and making things stick. Specifics stick. The exercise that you did telling me that you liked raspberry and you liked chocolate and you liked a specific type of peanut butter with a brand name, that's memorable. So avoid the Teflon phrases and make them stick. Specific stick. So the goal here is answering or starting strong. You could be in a networking event. You know what? I'm a fixer. I solve problems in high stress situations that other people walk away from. And Nuago, could you give me your pronunciation again? Wakego.
Wakego.
So much. Wakego. Okay, so the example of a Teflon phrase is the next one, the nonstick. I'm results driven. It's all the buzzwords. Broad marketing, sales, and operations experience in diverse markets. That may be true, and it may be what makes you valuable. Resumes and LinkedIn is littered with phrases like this. It's okay for some of the phrases to be on there in bullet points. Yet if you don't own what's on top of that, it's hard to be remembered. Thank you so much for that pronunciation again. More Teflon stories, Wakego. Why should we hire you? Tell me about yourself. I'm a quick learner. Well, I hope you're a quick learner. I'm a problem solver. I'm an engineer. I should be a problem solver. I hope you are a problem solver. I leverage technology to improve operational efficiencies and drive digital transformation, another buzzword, to improve the customer experience. Customer experiences are very important. People are interviewing for customer success roles. So the word customer experience is a good word, but when you put it as an alliteration with a bunch of other industry words, no one knows what it is that you do. And you walk out of that room or out of that camera and you're not remembered. More Teflon. I'm a people person. I'm a team player. I hope you're a team player because today is about collaboration. I consistently deliver results through a highly focused and collaborative approach to achieving broad success. These are cut and pasted out of the LinkedIn universe. People are putting this here. So how does one brand in this virtual world so that you can get people coming to you to ask about how you might think about joining their organization? So there is a little used area here, the theme or the banner that's behind your photograph that 85% of you never use. You put things like blades of grass, ocean fronts, city views, sunsets. And if I wanted to go on vacation, I would look at those photos and I would dream about them. Yet if I wanted to know something about you in the workplace, the sunset isn't where I'd go for it. So, and then you have your name and you have all of these keyword rich opportunities to put your information here. This stuff is searchable. The banner is not searchable, but everything beneath your name is probably the most important piece of real estate in your LinkedIn profile. A memorable branding story. So we talked about Teflon. So this is a person that's getting a master's degree in healthcare, healthcare management. So rather than saying, I do all of the business work and I help the physicians and I help, make the organization profitable. How about I care for the back office stuff so you can focus on caring for patients? If that is something that you put on the top of your banner or something that you said and you were in healthcare operations of any sort, it would be remembered. How about this for someone in project management or program management or process management? I write playbooks for organizations that beat their chaos monsters. This came out of a live presentation I did just a few months ago by this woman. And she put it on her branding right on that laptop that's there. And she does project management, program management. And she has all of the details right next to her little laptop there of what process improvement means. Even just putting the title of what you're looking for. This is a person at the university, at Purdue University. So it's okay if you're still in college. You could put your logo. You could put the Husky logo. You could put things that you could put all the things that you care about. He has a lot of the things that he has also repeated underneath. That's okay. And look at how great and big his name is. This is a person in marketing. So she's not saying, I do marketing better than anybody, but she's saying, by saying it's what brands do that matters, she's saying that she's passionate about branding. Could be a little stronger, but it's eye-catching, the black and yellow. So she does a lot with the color. And how about this? A person I know in marketing, she was interviewing for a job and she just thought, I'm just going to put it all out there. And the guy asked me, why should I hire you? And she said, well, it's like this. I design marketing programs that capture the attention of customers ready to buy. I bring the giddy up. And the giddy up was a popular phrase, by Kramer on TV at the time. But she still uses this phrase, giddy up, in a lot of her communications. It's part of her brand. Another one, people rely on me whenever the stakes are high and a decision must be made. So that's like, nobody wants to hire someone that can't make a decision, especially if you're hiring in for a senior management position. This is a project manager who just put her name out there and put project manager. And she did this right after one of our sessions. And she itemized out everything that she did underneath that. Very powerful. This is how you can be visible. Another one, I train recruiters and hiring leaders in effective diversity recruiting strategies. She happens to be a recruiter and helping individuals find work. It's how to brand. This is another person. Sometimes you can do it with a picture. Instead of a sunset, if you're a data wonk or you're a data geek, improve data analytics process by 250%. He has that underneath. He could also repeat that in his data-centric piece up there. So don't do this. Don't use a generic background, which is about a half hour in. Don't do the background. Many people just leave the default. It's this like sort of this grayish color. It's really sad. when you look at it, and they're not using this powerful piece of real estate. Make sure where this orange circle is here that you're open to connect. Why be on LinkedIn? LinkedIn is one of the best places for you to be when you're looking for work. And again, I'm getting back to these memorable phrases. I'm using different industries so that we can really pound this in. I had shoulder surgery for rotator cuff about 10 years ago. And I said, Doc, I go, like, what's the prognosis here? Like, am I going to be able to like lift my arm up again, like really strong? Am I going to be able to play tennis? What am I going to do? Rather than saying I have extensive surgery experience, he was like close to 7 feet tall. I swear, this guy was huge and confident and competent. And he said, you know, Marty, I'm confident of your full recovery. I've completed over 9,000 shoulder surgeries. Metrics count. And the second piece, so we talked about what's transferable. Let's talk about transformation. People that are in school or in alumni, come back to alumni programs for their school, are trying to figure out how I can transform what it is that I'm doing to something else. Create these foundational phrases. When asked why this role, what is your answer? When asked, tell me about yourself. Connect all those dots, make it easy. Create your stories, create them in narrative form, put them off to the side, and then start working with the words to make them memorable. Why should we hire you? Tell me about yourself. Networks and networking works when you're hired and already in the organization. So if you're in customer success or business development, I have like, what's so special about what you do that someone else, doesn't do? Well, when I'm in a meeting, I have X-ray vision when it comes to identifying issues customers are reluctant to share. I ask the extra question. Sometimes they don't get it out in the first couple questions. I pause and I reflect and I ask the extra question. If you said that during the interview and you were interviewing for a customer success role, you would be remembered. If you're in healthcare or you're in medical technology, you're working at a software firm that is, Teladoc Health, whatever it is, whatever target companies are. My background in nursing and mental health care taught me there is always more to the story. This is where I learned about empathy. Empathy is critical in developing relationships in business today. I saw someone use some phrases like this. She had to do a pitch to get her job opportunity. They said, try to persuade us of something in a PowerPoint presentation. She used her focus on empathy to capture their imagination. And guess what? She knew that it was one of their core values. She researched the company. I'm a fixer. I said this one earlier. I solve problems in high stress situations that other people walk away from. So own this transformation, inhabit this world, get rid of all these imposter feelings. I know it hits me too. When I'm in transition, I'm going from one thing to the next. I did marketing for years and worked into career development. It was intimidating to do that. And there was a bit of imposter syndrome. I had been mentoring and helping people with branding for years, just volunteering my time. Somehow I felt like, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Can I really help people? You can join industry associations. Do strategic volunteering. If you're gonna volunteer at an organization or association that makes sense, where you're gonna be making the right kind of contacts. Create an ecosystem on LinkedIn. When I went from technology and cybersecurity, which I worked in, I had all kinds of geeky connections in the technology world, but I didn't have industrial and organizational psychologists and HR directors. I didn't have all that. So I followed a lot of people. I engaged with them on LinkedIn. I understood the language and the lingo of what was important to the industry. That's what I mean by ecosystem. So master the conversational technology and make your messaging convincing. Spend time on it. That's what career branding is. Transformation. I'm excited, instead of saying I can solve your problems, I'm excited to combine my engineering degree and my experience running marathons to develop new technologies for prosthetics. So there you have it, whether it's designing bridges or working with sensors in new smart workspaces, whatever it is that you as an engineer is doing, reflect back to them. Remember, when you're talking to a person, it's even though you're saying I, it's about them and what their problems are. Another example, artificial intelligence, really big topic right now. You can just like wow them with some of your instincts. Artificial intelligence is helping us in so many ways. And I believe it has incredible potential to do more. My work will help protect your privacy in the process. This is a person that might be working in the cybersecurity space. By the way, 50% of the cybersecurity jobs that are open right now, they can't fill them. There's a 74% increase in the last year or two of artificial intelligence jobs. This is going to just explode in the next couple of years. So if you're curious, not that you have to go into AI, but how does AI affect your current role? If anybody here wants a free branding chapter, you can email me at marty@constantchange.com. And Lima has a question. What if you're not working in a field that is as wow as AI or cybersecurity? How do you present excitement in a job that is not in an exploding field? So Lima, can you unmute yourself and give me an example? I work best with examples. It's okay if you can't get to it right away, but if you can unmute yourself.
Well, for example, I worked in the publishing field. I'm in journalism, which is a really struggling field. And like, say you're an editor, what are you supposed to say? I edit, 5 papers a day. How do you present a field that isn't as exciting or sexy as AI or everybody wants an engineer. Engineers are in huge demand. So you don't have to sell it quite as hard as a job as editor. Editors or like copy editors are dime a dozen these days. How do you present something that's not as inherently interesting or in demand?
Perfect question. So Lima, we can just answer a question here. Why do you like writing? Tell me why you got into it and why do you do it?
Well, it's not necessarily my field, but other fields, because I've seen presentations such as these before, and it's very easy to talk about sales marketing numbers, or engineering and so on. What do you do if you're in one of the fields where you're not necessarily creating a percentage on a weekly basis, where you're not solving tech problems? Not necessarily mine personally, but I will
have a go at it. So if I'm talking to somebody and say I'm a writer, I'm a copy editor, and I'm talking to someone who doesn't know much about copy editing or what I do, I start with something like, words matter. Words have the power to persuade. Words have the power of influence. Words have the power to change generational trends. Words have the power. I would go on a little bit of a heartbeat of saying how powerful words are. And that's exactly what I do, because I take the main foundation of words and I elevate them so that they have powers to change industries and they have powers to make a market. So you might not have the numbers, but I will tell you, having worked with writers and worked in technology marketing for many years, things don't get sold unless people can take abstract concepts and bring them to life that are tangible and actionable. That's what writers do. And that's what you can do. You can do exactly what I just did with any industry that you might not think is exciting. And I used to think that too, like, well, if I didn't increase numbers, I didn't run the sales function, how did I do this? Well, I used to dig real deep and I used to go back to all the analytics and figure stuff out. So I did put some numbers together, but in the end, it was about, what are you remembered for? Are you the resourceful writer that comes up with the phrases that have those powers? So that's how I would answer that question. I hope that's useful.
Yeah, it's just when you say look up resume tips or LinkedIn tips, they're always saying, oh, give specific numbers or action, but the examples used are always like sales and engineering, and those are kind of like easy targets for those sort of things. I mean, you might have even a sales support type position where you're not directly affecting the number, but you're a vital cog.
Yeah. So I would go back to some of those foundational phrases that I went to. It's having those memorable foundation phrases that are memorable is what's going to get you remembered. I run into the fire when other people are moving away. Customer service. When it's a Friday and it's at 5 o'clock and all hell is breaking loose and the client is about ready to quit, that's when I come in. It's like coming up, it's stories, Lima. It is stories and it's phrases and it's expressions. Because I agree with you, not everything can be quantified, but there's a lot of things that can be expressed in powerful words. Hope that helps. So I also have on my website, I have 2 downloadable resources too, martyconstant.com/resources, Career Agility Guide. There is more to this presentation. I just put this in here in case people had to leave here. So we're going to go back into tap into the network, referral, research, recruiter. 85% of job opportunities are hidden. Online applications and job boards, 1 to 2% of them get the interview. I'm working with somebody in Silicon Valley right now, and she's getting a lot of cool interviews from recruiters. However, the jobs that she's being put forth are the job openings that recruiter has. It's not her strong suit. The recruiter is working for the company. The recruiter is not working for you. So it's a great place if you have an exact fit. And I have clients that have worked with recruiters and it's worked very well, but it's not the only game in town. And don't feel like you're missing everything. This is all about the networking. So there's 250 applicants on average per role. 4 to 6 get the interview, 1 gets the job. There's no shortcuts to master the art of selling yourself, researching the target companies. Someone last week told me, oh, my target company is X. It was a new tech company in California. And within 48 hours, I had given a presentation where someone actually worked at that company and he was a new person, but kind of a senior role. I connected the 2 of them together because I knew that person's target company. And this was through a social environment. This can happen all the time. It's tapping into your network. The hiring channels, 70% come through employer referrals, connections, personal, 20% ATS, online applications. These percentages can change depending on where you're getting the data, but close enough. 20% or 10% through third-party recruiters. I've seen as high as 15 to 20 on the recruiters, but it's getting less and less. So tap into the network, look at your current connections. You can download all of your connections and you can look at your first and secondary connections. So I was talking to a person yesterday and they said, well, I'm really looking at Salesforce as a target company. And I said, how many connections do you have? And they said, well, I know 1 VP. I said, if there's a job opening that you find out about, you need to have 10 or more connections within that company. You're going to benefit and start assembling that now, reaching out. And I bet you if you go through your current network, if you already live in California and you know a lot of people, you probably already have 15 people, but it's your role then to reach out to them and reconnect and ask them how they're doing in their job. So the power of loose connections, just what I was telling, it's very like 2 of my most recent jobs came through loose connections before I did this. It's like, You get jobs through strangers. You don't get them through your best friends. It might be a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and being open to the network. Master your video. I mean, think about like, what does your face look like? Is it too much light? Are you in a tunnel? Dressing for the role. Is it colorful? Is it a black turtleneck or blazer? Your posture, your feet on the ground. I stand when I do my presentations, but if I'm sitting, my posture is solid. And the feet, I recommend you put your feet on the ground. Psychologically, when your feet are on the ground, you are grounded and you become more confident in the way that you talk about yourself. So in summary, it's transfer, transform, tap. And I'd like to share anyone to share an idea of what they learned during today's event. And if there's any volunteers that would like to do a real-time LinkedIn review, let's go for it. Anybody raise their hand or put it in chat. Whoever puts it in chat first, we'll go with that. There's always a lag time with chat. So share an idea that you learned during today's event, even if it's, you know, the word Teflon. Messaging. Teresa Cordoza says messaging. Words matter. Yes, they absolutely do. LinkedIn banner is an important part of your real estate. LinkedIn banner. So those are two things. Anything else? How I answer a question with details rather than saying I'm a people person. Thank you for that, Scott. Dale, let's see, can you give me your LinkedIn link in the chat and I will link right to it and share it?
Yes, I will.
I could probably search for it, but if you gave me the link, it'll be easier. Stick, project economy, career change and responding to other changes you can use. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's change model. So I don't really have, let me see, LinkedIn. Dale, thank you. So we are going to share Dale's screen. You might not be able to see everything, but you can hear the, you can hear the verbal on it. So nice picture, smiling, always good. The picture in the background is very personal. Or it might be a group exercise, not certain. So it's kind of fun, but I would use that place for your professional. I would love to see something in your headline about healthcare or about HealthWorks and what that means in academies. So I think that this is probably a picture of some of your students, academy, which is really great. Maybe it's a headline. And I would say, I know this was probably done at a really creative event. It was nighttime and it was dark, but it's not very visible and you can't see. So next time, try to get it, if you're doing an activity, to get something like that, because you're probably trying to reflect academy. Is that the case, Dale?
Yeah, this was a group of students at Wistar Institute when Nikon had their exhibit once a year. It's just amazing what they do with photography and medicine. And,
right.
And this was a group of students that we had.
Right, so if there's a way just to capture that, or maybe have that off to the side and have a better picture of that same group in another environment where the lighting is a little bit better. And then what does the HealthWorks Academy, what do you do?
We're a talent development pipeline program. We have a custom STEM curriculum we implement in high schools. together with career development in healthcare and life sciences, career awareness, partnership with PBS, and a pipeline to industry.
Okay, so, I would start to work with some foundational phrases like, talent development for what's next, something along those lines, talent development for the future of everything. The internet of everything is a big term right now. So if you said talent development for the future of everything, for the generations to come, because these are the people, these are the young people that are building and designing our future that we're all going to be living in. And so getting some phrases, and I would go so far as to look at some of the phrases that you're getting reflected back from these students, start to collect some of the words and expressions they're using and create some of your own to bring this idea to life, because this sounds like a really incredible, an incredible thing. I like the fact that you have a featured section here. A lot of people don't activate your featured section. You could have a story. You could develop a 5-page PowerPoint about the powerful story of what happened during this week that you worked with these students, and you could develop it, and you can have just headlines with some photographs, and you can plop it right there. You can go to, I'm going to go to, you might not realize this. Some of you do, some of you don't. So I'm going to Dale's activity, and people often put in, posts. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they're not active. That's okay. So we have, Dale's a little active because she was there 3 days ago. Some people publish articles here. You can put articles in the LinkedIn article repository. It's not going to be findable as much by people. You've got to promote it. But I will tell you a secret about articles. If you write a really cool industry article, even if it's only 500 words, it's keyword searchable by Google. My What is Career Agility article that makes me #1 on Google right now comes from my LinkedIn article by the same name. Doesn't go to my website because my website doesn't have as much SEO juice in it. So we've got posts, and then we've got this area called documents. And the documents, Dale had, she has a document here, but there, you can load up documents. She can put her document here, and it could be this colorful, like with those colors, those bright colors, it could be this colorful thing. It could be 5 pages, and you create a PDF, and then you go back to her homepage. And it sits, this activity page sits right here. Generally, when people have a couple things here, you can even put your resume here. That document that she had there, if that was a real front and center kind of document, she could highlight it on her featured section. So normally, if people are active here, you might have 3 things here. So if someone's saying, something important, like we were just talking earlier, or Lima was talking about, how can I make writing exciting? How can I make something else exciting? Create something, put it out there, create a PDF of it, and highlight it front and center on your featured section. Again, you could put your resume. Some, resume people and career people say, oh, I don't know if you should do that. I've been in marketing for years, and my belief is you use all of your tools. You can have different opinions. You have to pay attention to your own feelings about it and make those decisions. And so she's got a nice amount of activity here, right? But again, you can go back to the activity. And another thing is to start getting skills recommendations. So give and get a lot of recommendations. It's a really important part of building your brand. So those are some of the things that I would suggest for wording. And I wanted to, if it's okay with you, Eve, if there's like a minute or 2 left, There's 2 minutes left. If it's okay, Lima, or for Dale, for me to go to Eve. Eve, if you can put your LinkedIn profile in, we can do one more real quickly. Let me see. Oh, here it is. I got it. We got 2 minutes left. We'll just use up the 2 minutes. And appreciate the thanks that are in this, Sabrina. Appreciate that. So we're going into Eve's LinkedIn profile. So marketing assistants, a really nice photo. And I don't know, okay, so this is what I used to have on mine. I used to put the city of Chicago behind mine. So again, use your thing. And Eve, what is it that you love about the work that you do?
Yeah, I feel like as an entry level person, I'm still working on like branding myself and stuff. I feel like I'm in a place where I feel like I'm open to a lot of different things as like a job seeker, especially like post COVID. So yeah, I guess I'm still trying to figure out like the best way to phrase like, you know, what I want to do and what I'm looking for. I guess that's something.
So why did you choose a marketing role? Like what attracted you to it?
Yeah, so I majored in communications. So that's something I feel like I have skills in. Marketing is sort of an area that I'm looking at. And I have this friend, a woman named Lynn Moore, who has her own digital marketing business. And so I've been, sort of helping her as like a freelance assistant with whatever she might need, everything from like drafting social media posts to, helping with her like website copywriting and various things for her clients. So yeah, that's been a really interesting way to sort of practice something as a freelancer before like necessarily looking at like full-time roles, I guess. Sure. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, you're in the exploration phase.
Yeah.
You're basically A/B testing. 80% of the people that I interviewed for my book got the job they could get out of college, not necessarily this strategic job that they were destined to. And so you're in an exploration process. But if you're going to continue in marketing, I would start to look at where marketing is going right now and where digital transformation is taking us, and start to create a vision of why social media is important and what it means to your customers and your clients, and start to look at what's next in the marketing arena. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in marketing. One of the things that's going on in marketing right now is conversational AI. Believe it or not, I keep on bringing it in, but it's changing the world. It's changing the way that we interact with our brands and our products. So if you became a person as a writer that was an expert at conversational AI, maybe you're the person that writes all of the social media posts, you can start to build a story around that, Eve. But again, if you're exploring, you're testing the market right now, and that's okay too.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're out of time, but I wanted to thank each and every one of you for participating. If there's anything that you need, there's lots of information on my website. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn that has 30,000 subscribers called Agility Think. I talk about future trends. I talk about the workplace. I'm a huge employee advocate because I believe that it is about, we're the people that are going to build it at whatever age. So thank you so much, Dale. I wish I could have talked to you for longer. And Lima, thank you so much for your powerful question. You asked the question that everybody else was thinking. So appreciate it. And I'm an open networker on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me and connect with me on LinkedIn. And I can just put if you want that branding chapter, it's 50 pages long. I'm going to put my email in here.
Marty, thank you so much. I wrote some words that really stuck out for me that I jotted down here are fresh and fabulous, agile and actionable. This felt like a really fast-paced, high-energy session, and the Teflon versus memorable. And so lots of things that we can put into place, lots of great interaction here, and really fresh ideas. I'm going to go work on my LinkedIn background picture, and we can all hold each other accountable on that.
You said something really lovely just now. You said 2 words that have the same letters, fresh and fabulous. There's a lot of opportunities for you to use a phrase like that in describing what you're doing. If you're not going to present yourself in the powerful way and the hot deal that you are, who's going to? You know, we tend to like not want to market ourselves, but you're the most important product and service that you have.
Thank you. I think you've given us a lot of great ideas and a lot of high energy and inspiration. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for your participation.
Yes.